Hi, my name is Doug, and this is the All Sports Fantasy League. Today we are starting off our Get to Know the Members edition with Mike and Colin. Let's see what we can find out about these guys.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Colin.
Okay, our first question is, did either of you guys play sports as a kid?
I know I played Little League baseball as a kid.
Yeah, for a while I did travel baseball, played a little football as well, and then some obvious recreational basketball in backyards. That was kind of the depth of my sports.
I know whenever I was a kid, we didn't have travel baseball. Not that I was good enough to play travel baseball, but that's definitely a much more modern sport.
Yeah, it was always just fun to kind of go all across the state, play baseball. Definitely helped my knowledge of the sport.
Yeah, it's definitely fun for the kids. I know I love giving up my weekends because my son plays travel baseball, driving 2.5 hours to sit in a field for 8 hours to drive 2.5 hours back home 3 days over the weekend. I know there's nothing funner than that.
I think the best part's when you forget your cleats halfway through. Got to turn around. But yeah, I think the one sport I kind of wish I would have played was hockey. Obviously, Indiana not a lot of hockey available, but just even like street hockey would have been cool.
What sports teams did you watch growing up?
So growing up as an Indiana guy, obviously forced to watch the Colts, just kind of a rite of passage. Same with the Pacers. And then my dad grew up as a big Reds fan, so he kind of pushed that propaganda onto me, unfortunately. Haven't seen a winning season in about 10 years, so it's been a fun Reds experience.
Same with the Colts here recently.
Yeah.
But no, at least whenever you were younger, the Colts were winning Super Bowls. Or a Super Bowl. I grew up watching the Chicago Cubs, had a little black and white TV in my room, so it only picked up a couple stations, and one of them was WGN out of Chicago. So I grew up watching Mark Grace at first, Joe Girardi catching, some nice pitching coming through there, Ryan Sandberg, Andre Dawson at third. They had teams.
Yeah.
Loved watching the Cubs.
Sosa down the stretch, 90s was...
Well, that was after I upgraded to color TV by then.
I hope.
Yeah. and later on, after I watched the Cubs long enough to figure out that they're probably not a team that's ever going to win, I started watching the Cardinals. Went to a couple Cardinals games. I had family in St. Louis, so that's my team now is St. Louis. But I still have a lot of fond memories of the Cubbies and listening to Harry Carey hang out the window singing the seventh inning stretch.
And then, recently got into hockey, and
Nice.
Thanks to the New York Rangers and hitting about 7 bets in a row, now a New York Rangers fan. Thanks to Igor Shesterkin, also why I drafted him in this draft. But it's been a brutal stretch for Indiana teams. But now IU football is back. That's kind of our saving grace.
What fantasy sports have you done before?
I've been playing fantasy football since the early 2000s. My first team had Dante Culpepper and Tiki Barber, crushed the league, and I've been playing it since. The only thing is with fantasy football, I got a little overzealous, and I would spend weeks monitoring teams and players in the draft and where I think everybody's going to go and season record to see if they're going to sit people at the end of the... Dude, I just got too much into it, and it made it not fun. So I actually haven't played fantasy football anytime recently. I've just been playing the all sports leagues. Love that. Set it, forget it. Just do the home workout before the season starts. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's nice just picking a team. I've been doing fantasy sports for probably about 15 years now. My first experience is like Yahoo Fantasy Baseball, like money leagues when I was like 6. That was probably how I got introduced. And then fantasy football, 2011, just Julio Jones, all that era of just awesome football. Kind of dabbled in hockey recently, but a lot of it's just football and baseball. Basketball's not really for me. But, if it's a sport, I've probably done fantasy for it. So I'm kind of well-versed in the fantasy sports realm. It's been fun to do the teams. Like Mike said, it's just a lot of set it and forget it, do your research, and then boom, your year is set up. You just got to follow these select teams.
Yeah, for me that's the best because you get to watch the team the whole year, and it's not like you have to set a lineup or which pitcher start 3 games this week or that week, or it's not like baseball. I couldn't get into the minutia of all the little transactions. I just couldn't do it. That's what drove me out of that. I know I've played basketball before too, but to be honest with you, I'm not a big basketball fan. So playing that was just more about the research and doing the research. It really wasn't about liking the sport or enjoying fantasy sports there.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say is like playing fantasy sports definitely helps your knowledge. Start playing a lot of fantasy hockey, and for anyone listening, always draft defensemen in fantasy hockey. They rack up hits and block shots. It's awesome. But yeah, I'd say there's just a lot of the sports that are a little too time consuming. So as we've moved to the owners where it's like, you kind of own teams, it's been much easier to follow.
I think when we were, I was 6 years old, probably when you were 6 years old too, that stuff like Yahoo Sports and ESPN Sports wasn't even a thing, and everybody was doing the pen and paper type stuff, very similar to what we're doing right now. So who knows, maybe years from now this will be more explored than what we're doing right now. While Colin is here, let's talk about his draft strategy.
So heading into it, this was my first real experience with an auction style, whereas like you nominate and let teams bid. So at first, my goal was to bid teams that I wouldn't want and let people bid them up. And on my first turn, I nominated the Cowboys, thinking everyone would bid them up, and then no one bid them. So I just took them for 11. Felt pretty good about that value. And then strategy-wise, as kind of a guy who watches a lot of baseball, and I'm kind of into the analytics of it. Pitching was my priority. So the Mets, Tigers, and Reds, as of this recording date, are like top 10 in ERA. Mets and Tigers are 1 and 3, and that was my thing, is pitching wins games. So my rationale was, I'll just get a bunch of teams that can pitch, and fortunately the Mets got Juan Soto and Lindor, so they can also hit, and that's why they're one of the best teams in baseball. I really wanted to focus on baseball and hockey, kind of my two areas of expertise as of late. Felt pretty good about the Panthers. I think they're going to go back-to-back. Avalanche are always good with Cole McCarr, and the Rangers have Igor Shesterkin, so, can't really go wrong with them. Basketball was kind of hit or miss. I was going to just kind of play the field, see how it was going. Felt good about the Knicks when I got them, for 26, just a small percentage of the cap space. Then blundered with the Bucks. Got Giannis, who is going to leave here soon, so maybe Bobby Portis can carry us to greatness, but might have to eat that contract. And then kind of my anchor for this roster is the Eagles. I plan on them being pretty successful for the foreseeable future. Jalen Hurts is inevitable. That tush push, can't really beat it. But overall, I really want to focus on baseball and hockey as kind of fields where a lot of people maybe don't focus on them. A lot of people don't watch hockey in general. So it's kind of an area to get value, get a lot of points, for what people might not know. The Avalanche were only 13, which is pretty crazy in hindsight. And NBA, let people who watch NBA, enjoy NBA, get that. I'll take what's left. And I feel pretty good about the draft. Baseball is the one being scored right now, and I think I'm in second, so feeling pretty good. Hopefully Juan Soto can keep it up, and the Mets will win me baseball.